Survival games aren't just about crafting and not dying, they're about embracing chaos, testing your friendships, and learning why you should never trust a smiling stranger in the forest. From underwater nightmares to Viking fever dreams, we're diving into the most hilarious, intense, and ridiculous survival experiences gaming has to offer. Let's see which games are the best survival games in 2025. DayZ is the closest thing you'll get to a psychology degree while playing a game. It's survival stripped down to its rawest form, one giant map, very few resources, and a whole lot of paranoia. You're dropped into a post-apocalyptic world full of zombies, but the real danger isn't the undead, it's the other survivors. You start with nothing but some bandages and the clothes on your back. You're cold, hungry, thirsty, and alone. Every building you enter could have supplies or someone hiding with a shotgun. Every decision matters. Do you risk entering the town for canned beans or sneak through the woods and hope no one spots you? The game is about trust, desperation, and survival instincts. You'll meet players who seem friendly, some will be. Most will shoot you in the face and take your shoes. Voice chat becomes a tool of manipulation. Alliances are made and broken in seconds. You might spend an hour traveling with someone only to get betrayed for a can of tuna. The zombies? They're more like environmental hazards. The real heart of DayZ is in the tension between players. Base building, crafting, medicine, and hunting all exist, but they're secondary to the pure psychological warfare happening at all times. It's a game of stories. One day you're a hero saving a stranger. The next, you're a villain, looting corpses. Sons of the Forest is what happens when a rescue mission meets a horror movie and then refuses to stop screaming. You're part of a high-tech team sent to rescue a missing billionaire. Naturally, your helicopter crashes and suddenly you're stuck on a forested island full of cannibals, mutants, and possibly some of the most cursed caves ever designed in a video game. The survival here is raw. You need to chop trees, build a base, hunt animals, and avoid the local humanoid horrors who have a real problem with your existence. The AI is surprisingly smart. Cannibals will scout you out, observe your defenses, and adapt. They'll test your walls, leave disturbing signs, and sometimes just stand there watching. Not creepy at all. But you're not alone. You have Kelvin, a mostly helpful, slightly clueless NPC companion who follows orders and occasionally stares into the void. He's either a brilliant support character or a meme in the making. Either way, he's yours. The game is a mix of chilling atmosphere, intense crafting, and base defense that constantly keeps you on edge. The caves are full of resources, yes, but also nightmare fuel. Bring a flashlight and a strong stomach. Don't Starve is a survival game that hates you, your hope, and your sense of stability. It drops you into a hand-drawn gothic wilderness and gives you one job: don't die. Too bad everything is trying to make sure you do. The art is whimsical, the gameplay is cruel, and the title is both your goal and a constant reminder of your inevitable failure. You'll chop trees, gather twigs, roast berries, and then probably get eaten by a sentient shadow because you forgot to build a campfire before nightfall. Sanity is just as important as food. Let your mind slip too far and suddenly your hallucinations start hitting back. You can craft tools, build machines, summon magic, and unlock quirky characters with unique perks and fatal flaws. One can't sleep, another bursts into flames when stressed. And let's not forget the seasons. Winter will freeze you, summer will overheat you, and spring will drown everything you love. The world is procedurally generated, so no two playthroughs are the same. You'll die a lot, and that's okay. Because every death teaches you something new, like don't punch a beefalo, or flowers won't save you from insanity if you're being chased by a giant eyeball. If you like Tim Burton black comedy and surviving by the skin of your teeth, Don't Starve is a wonderfully twisted way to question your life choices. Imagine Valheim went on a date with a fantasy RPG and 9 months later, you got a mystical survival baby wrapped in fog and trauma. This is Enshrouded. You play as a Flameborn, which sounds cool until you realize it just means you're one of the lucky souls tasked with stopping a creepy fog called the Shroud from eating the world. You'll spend your days crafting weapons, building bases, and exploring a land that looks like Middle-earth if Sauron had a thing for atmospheric smog. The survival elements are there: hunger, crafting, enemies. But it's less about dying from forgetting to eat and more about pushing back the supernatural gloom that's turning your friends into corrupted creatures. The real charm? Customizing your playstyle with a solid skill tree, building whatever kind of base you want, from cozy cottage to battle fortress, and arguing with your co-op buddies about whose turn it is to fight the fog demons while the rest of you farm for cabbages. The arc is chaotic, buggy, and sometimes completely insane. But it's also one of the most content-rich survival games out there. If you've ever dreamed of taming a T-Rex, building a mountain fortress, and fighting off an alien boss while wearing a loincloth, this is the game for you. The game's magic lies in its slow burn progression. You start with spears and thatched huts and end up with automatic turrets and cloned dinosaurs. It's like going from caveman to cyberpunk, but with more poop management. Taming dinosaurs is a huge part of the experience. Want a pet velociraptor? You'll need to knock it out, shove food in its mouth, and babysit it for an hour while praying nothing eats you. It's absurd, tedious, and weirdly satisfying. Building a base is also essential not just for protection, but for flexing. Some players go full Flintstones, others build fortresses that look like Jurassic Park merged with the Pentagon. Arc PvP is like Mad Max with more betrayal. You'll work for days on a base, only to log in one morning and find it reduced to rubble because Chad and his dino gang decided you looked at them funny. But if you're more into chill survival and co-op fun, PvE servers let you play Sandbox God without the stress of surprise raids. Let's grab an axe and go full Norse. Valheim drops you into Viking purgatory with nothing but your fists, and an annoying crow who won't shut up about tutorials. Your goal: gather resources, build longhouses, and fight monstrous bosses across a procedurally generated world that's equal parts beautiful and deadly. The beginning is serene. You hunt boars, cook meat, and maybe build a lovely wooden hut by the sea, but don't get too cozy because the Black Forest is coming for you and it's bringing trolls. Big ones. Combat is simple but satisfying, and the co-op system is fantastic. Whether you're crafting a Viking stronghold or just trying to outrun a giant flying death mosquito, Valheim makes the grind feel like a Norse fever dream. Plus, the more you do things, the better you get at them. Chop trees, swing swords, jump over rocks. It's all XP, baby. You haven't lived until a tree you chop down crushes your friend mid-sentence. Rust is what happens when a survival game gets drunk, forgets about humanity, and lets chaos reign. Your first few hours will probably go like this: punch a tree, build a campfire, get attacked by a boar, scream, respawn, repeat. But then something changes. You start crafting, building a base, maybe taming a horse. You meet other players, some are friendly, most are not. Trust becomes the most valuable and volatile currency in Rust. Rust's brilliance lies in its unpredictability. One moment you're peacefully harvesting stone, the next you're being chased by a naked man with a torch who just yelled, "This is Sparta!" before setting your base on fire. It's brutal. It's hilarious. It's borderline social commentary. The game's building system is incredibly robust, allowing for anything from tiny shelters to full-on fortresses. And with regular updates adding everything from drones to electricity, there's always something new to learn and abuse. PvP is intense with raids, gunfights, and clan wars that make medieval feuds look tame. But if you survive long enough to carve out your own slice of the world, Rust becomes weirdly rewarding. You'll feel proud of your little shack, your furnace, your crude shotgun, and when someone inevitably betrays you and steals everything, you'll swear revenge, gather your allies, and burn their base to the ground. It's the circle of Rust. No Man's Sky is a survival game for those who looked at Minecraft and thought, cool, but can I do this across an entire galaxy? What started as one of the most overhyped launches in gaming history has morphed into one of the most ambitious comeback stories ever. There are billions of planets, each with its own weather, terrain, plants, creatures, and please don't touch that moments. Survival in No Man's Sky isn't just about eating food and avoiding death by temperature. It's also about managing your spaceship, upgrading your exosuit, and dealing with mysterious entities like the Sentinels, who do not appreciate you mining too many space rocks. It's a balancing act between exploration and preparation. Want to explore a toxic swamp world full of tentacle trees? Go for it. Just bring the right hazmat suit. With updates over the years, the game now includes base building, multiplayer, mechs, living ships, giant space whales, and even VR support. You can create an entire home on a lava planet or go full space nomad and never touch land again. No Man's Sky is about freedom, curiosity, and occasionally screaming, "What is that thing?" as it chases you into a crater. It's not the most punishing survival game, but it might be the most awe-inspiring. Whether you're scavenging for fuel or taming alien creatures, you're always just one warp jump away from your next weird and wonderful disaster. Subnautica is the game that takes the phrase, "just keep swimming," and turns it into a horrifying mantra. You crash land on an alien water world, and surprise, there's no land. None. Just miles of ocean teeming with fish, coral, and deep-sea nightmares waiting to snack on your submarine. You start off with a tiny life pod, a fabricator machine, and a whole lot of questions. Your first job? Not drown. Your second job? Not get eaten by something with bioluminescent teeth. Every dive is a risk, every resource collection a calculated gamble. Do you go down for more copper or surface for oxygen before the music gets spooky? Subnautica nails survival tension. Oxygen is limited, food and water are essential, and every new biome you enter is a mix of wonder and terror. One moment you're collecting bladderfish like a champion, the next you're screaming because a ghost leviathan came out of nowhere and yeeted your submersible into a cave. You can build underwater bases, upgrade your gear, and even construct submarines, from tiny scooters to massive underwater fortresses. There's also a storyline involving alien tech, infections, and corporate cover-ups, but honestly, the real story is how many near-death experiences can you cram into one scuba trip? Few survival games balance beauty and horror like Subnautica. It's stunning, immersive, and absolutely designed to make you develop an irrational fear of deep water. And if that's not enough, there's a sequel, Below Zero, which adds freezing temperatures to your already stressful aquatic adventure. Let's talk Project Zomboid, a game that might as well be called How Would You Die in a Zombie Apocalypse? It's isometric, sandbox, and stubbornly detailed, like stupidly detailed. Want to hotwire a car? Sure, but first you better learn how. Want to store meat in the fridge? Better make sure the power's still on. You don't play Project Zomboid, you live it. Every decision matters. Do you eat that questionable can of beans or save it for tomorrow? Do you loot the pharmacy knowing it might be full of undead regulars waiting to fill their last prescription with your face? Vehicles alone are so complex, you'll feel like you're in a mechanic sim. Lock doors, fiddle with the heater, break windows. And yes, every choice has consequences. The real brilliance is how it simulates desperation. Eventually, you're not worried about the zombies. You're worried about winter, about infections, about depression. You'll develop rituals. You'll name your frying pan. You'll mourn your pet rat. This game is hardcore, hilarious, and horrifying. And if you enjoyed this breakdown of the top 10 survival games with beautifully unhinged survival insanity, go ahead and smash that like button like it's a zombie skull. Until next time, stay alive out there, or at least die doing something hilarious.